Namaste, and welcome to another episode of The Amazing Veda with Dr. Pariksith Singh. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for joining us. And as you know, we've been exploring the interrelationship between the various Vedic deities. And we saw in an earlier episode how the great purifier was Agni. And now, suddenly, we have this sukta in the Veda which says that Soma is a purifier, it's a Pavaka. So please read that tweet that you put out on X and let's discuss it in the next 10 or 12 minutes.
Yeah, this one was with the Veda, you can never be too surprised, but this one really it was a home run. Even at the level of the Veda, it's a home run. So you can imagine how beautiful and powerful it is. Soma is called Pavamaana in the Veda. What does that mean? The word means self-purifying. If the Soma were from a plant, could it purify itself? That would be ridiculous, isn't it? This only confirms that the term Soma refers to something else. It is the bliss generated in our psychophysical body once we have lit and nurtured Agni within us. To use yogic terminology, it is the ananda we feel as we intensify our sadhana. This Soma grows in a positive feedback loop. The moment you taste it, your sadhana moves forward with greater intensity. Now you have verified to yourself that the whole enterprise is legit. You have the pramana, evidence. The intenser the yoga becomes, the greater the generation of soma in you, for it is akin to a chemical reaction. It is a virtuous cycle expanding, feeding on itself, purifying itself more and more as you grow in yoga. The Veda is full of such positive feedback loops, and we will review them as we go along.
So, you see, viewers, this gives you a completely different interpretation of that very popular phrase, follow your bliss. Because, if your bliss is cannabis or cannabliss, then, the feedback loop is going to take you in a, I would think, very negative direction eventually. Uh, but with Soma, it's not that because it purifies even as it releases this bliss. And nowadays, there's a lot of research in the wellness sphere on dopamine and how, we are chasing, human beings are this ecstasy chasers. We're always looking for this dopamine hit. But the moment you have a hit, there's a kind of, the scale tilts so that you need more and more stimulus to get, less and less of that high. And that's where, in a sense, we are prone to so many addictions. In fact, we might even describe or define modernity or the civilization of modernity as a civilization which engenders and encourages addiction. So you have all kinds of addiction, and people are being treated for it, you know. But the soma, the hit, if you want to call it that soma gives you is not of that addictive kind. In fact, the yogis, those of us who have come in contact with some of these people, I find them very calm. I don't see them agitated at all. In fact, one of the gurus that I had, I also, I felt, I mean, I would be anxious when I went into his presence, but once you were there, everything was so harmonious and calm, almost as if time was under his control. And yet everything worked with clockwise precision, it would seem. When he came, when he left, and even almost mid sentence, he would say, well, time's up. Darshan now is over. So I'm just trying to make this point of discovering a different source and kind of bliss. But Dr. Singh, what about this purification? Because we usually associate Agni with that, and you talked about it earlier also, that whatever you offer to the Agni gets purified. Would you say that Soma also purifies? Bliss also purifies?
Bliss purifies better than anything else. Is it? I mean, and this is so. in the Veda you have Agni as the Pavaka, you have Saraswati as a Pavaka. So that is different. I mean, in the third Suktam at the in the 10th Rik, you have Saraswati called as someone who purifies. But Soma is has been given a special attention. It's given a mandal all by itself, the ninth mandal completely.
Ninth mandala.
Elaborate process on how to create it, to let it refine, purification, self refinement. The most fascinating part of it is it purifies itself, and that to me is amazing. It refines itself, and once it is generated, I guess the tip, and it's called Indu just for a reason. It comes as a point. Indu means a point, right? So a point of bliss, you can, if you touch that bliss even once,
Is it
that,
Bindu or Indu?
so Bindu comes from Indu. Indu is bliss, but the word Bindu is actually a derivative of Indu. And the first appearance of Soma is actually as a single drop. One little drop, suddenly you realize that it has appeared, that there is something else within this frame, this cause and effect world. Something has happened of its own without cause, what we call ahaituka. Yes, you can refine yourself all you want, you purify yourself, you prepare yourself for a level, then it will appear on its own. It has its own logic, and then it takes on and starts purifying itself. It starts growing on itself, feeds on itself, almost like a, if I may use the word, a Soma monster. Once you have tasted, like we have cookie monsters, right? Once you have tasted it, you really become aware of it. What else is there? And then, so the understanding in the Veda is this Soma purifies itself. You have, maybe you get a hint of it. Now the Soma will purify. You get a more intense experience of it. Now it will purify until you realize your whole being has become Soma. You are that Ananda that you were looking for. And perhaps the whole human story of greed, of fear, of achievement, ambition, heaven, hell, is all driven by this innate desire for, what do you call it, the dopamine hit. So the somatic need for Soma, and it is, this is, there's no logic for it, but it is there, and it grows itself, and it purifies itself as it purifies itself. So,
Exactly, exactly. And this is very important to understand that we always tend to look for it outside. And in fact, the word for the object, Vishaya, is also the word linked with poison, the wish,
yes,
you
yes,
know. So I think this is a very profound message of the Veda, that yes, do find your bliss, but find it in the right place and through the right method and the right process, and not through, for example, substance abuse. In fact, my irreverent friends used to tell me that, what is, all the Soma, it's just that the best single malt,
yes,
which is in the right cask, the best water, that
yes,
refinements, and kept for those 20 years. And then, it has just that hint of the sherry, the cask, or whatever, the bourbon cask, you know. But the point I'm trying to make is that throughout, the Sanatan text, there's always this idea that a single drop suffices, that single
yes,
drop of nectar. In the Kumbh
yes,
Mela, they're just trying to recreate that single drop, that churning of the oceans produced, again, that elixir of immortality,
yes,
Amrit, and a few
yes,
drops were spilled somewhere, and you want to get to that. So the point I'm trying to make is that, you know, less is more in the Veda. Once you go to higher and higher levels of concentration, it's like a single ray of light can dispel the darkness. So
yes,
Whereas in the modern world, we are so into quantity. But what the Veda shows us is that the greater the purification, the greater the refinement, the more powerful the effect.
Yes.
So let's contemplate these ideas. Let's think about them and let's see if we can practice them in some form. Especially, even the aesthetics, even the refinement in our lives, which is so important, which the mother talked about, perfection in small things. And in that sense, once you find that door opening, then you don't want to go back to the disorder and chaos and conflict and confusion and ugliness and actually the stench of the world that we have created, this uglification everywhere. So your concluding thoughts, Dr. Singh, on this wonderful and illuminating sort of refinement and self purification that Soma induces in us.
I think it is such a fabulous understanding of what we have called the positive feedback loop. It is the ultimate feedback loop, I think. So, pun intended. So that with that, I think I would we should just feel it. Now we should taste it. That little drop.
Thank you. On that note, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel and check us out on Amazing Veda on X. And until next time, happy Soma to you. Namaste.
Happy so much.